Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today we're going to be doing an individual book review for Wolfsong by TJ Klune. If you guys don't know, this is an adult paranormal male-male romance that involves shapeshifters, specifically werewolves. This is the first book in the Green Creek series, and I believe each book follows a different main character and a different couple, but the group of characters is the same. You just kind of jump from one character within the group to another. This one follows a boy named Ox, and at the beginning of the book you find out that his father has not been treating him very well. A lot of people in this town, including his father, have called him dumb repeatedly. Granted, Ox is not the best with words, but they call him slow and they call him stupid, so he has very low self-confidence. When he's 12, his father tells him that he's not worth anything, and then his father abandons their family, so that has really gotten in Ox's head, and so he just thinks that he's a nobody, basically. On his 16th birthday, he is walking home and he ends up meeting a little boy that just won't shut up. The little kid's name is Joe, and he basically drags Ox to meet his family, and that's when Joe and Ox's friendship really begins. And really, you just follow Ox as he is growing up. This book covers a substantial chunk of time. At the beginning of the book, I think he's like 12, and then at the end of the book, he's 27. I think he's actually 26. Throughout this book, you follow Ox as he starts to gather a bit of a found family, and he develops his friendships and his relationships with Joe and Joe's family and the people that he works with as well. Obviously, there's werewolves and stuff, so he gets involved with the werewolves. There are enemies that are surrounding the town, and he has to try to protect everyone that he loves. This is the second book by TJ Klune that I've read. I read The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I absolutely loved. If you want to check out my review for that book, that will be in the card symbol and down in the description, but I wanted to continue on and check out more of his work, so I decided Wolfsong was the next one. As usual with my book reviews, I'm going to go through my pros, go through my cons, give you my rating, and be done. If you're wondering where Nook is, he's literally laying right next to me. I think you can see him right there. My first pro for this book is obviously Ox. I love Ox. He's such a good person. Yeah, he's not good with words, but he is so loyal and so just lovable. I hate at the beginning of the book how lonely he is, but it was very satisfying and rewarding to see all of these people start to gather around Ox and love him and make him not lonely. I love that he's really soft and vulnerable and open with the people that are close to him, but then again, he's also very strong and fierce when it comes to protecting the people that he loves. I honestly don't feel like this is a spoiler, but Joe and his family are the werewolves. Joe describes Ox as smelling like candy canes and pine cones and epic and awesome. I just love Ox. And I mean, this book is about Ox, so it's easy to love him, but I ended up getting really invested in a lot of the other characters in this book. I obviously really loved the love interest as well. Joe grows so much in this story. Joe's had really awful things happen to him, and at the very beginning of the book, he's still healing from those things. I honestly feel like he still is processing all of the terrible things that happened to him throughout the entire book. I just loved seeing him start to open up and try to get back to a normal life. Joe and Ox are just over 6 years apart, so at the beginning of the book I was kind of like, what's going on? But I'd like to say that it doesn't ever get inappropriate in terms of the age gap difference or anything like that. They're really, really good friends for the majority of everything, and then later on is when they start to have a bit of a romance, like when they're much older. So I liked that it didn't get weird. I really liked Carter and Kelly, which are Joe's older brothers. One of them is Ox's age and one of them is in between them. I really liked Thomas and Elizabeth, which are the parents, and then also their uncle Mark. Ox works at an auto repair shop, and so I really liked all of those characters as well. Gordo is the owner of the shop and becomes Ox's fill-in dad, friend, mentor, uncle. I think Gordo is the main character of the second book, if I'm not getting that mistaken. And the guys that work at the shop are awesome. Rico, Tanner, and Chris. I do think that Tanner and Chris kind of get lost in things, but they were all really enjoyable, and I loved how all of them are like Ox's found family. And lastly, I really love Ox's mom. She's so cool in this book. Maggie. I love that woman. So I just really loved all the characters and how they interact and how they grow and change. There's a lot of heavy moments in this book, but there are a lot of really funny moments as well. It had like all of the emotions in this book, and it was really fun. TJ Klune did a good job of making sure that all of these characters had their own things going on. All of the characters have their own goals and their own lives and have their own ways of doing things. So I really appreciated that because it made everything seem more real. And kind of related to that, I did really like the plot of this. As Ox gets involved with these paranormal werewolf shapeshifters, the stakes grow and grow. They're enemies that the characters have to deal with, and they're like real enemies. They are dangerous. It was great because this book has a pretty solid plot as well, and I didn't expect everything to happen the way that it did. So I enjoyed this story really for the plot as well as the romance. The romance in this book is a super slow burn for obvious reasons, and so they are just best friends for a really long time. And one thing related to the romance was that I appreciated that there wasn't a huge power difference between the characters. Ox is a little bit older than Joe, but Joe's a werewolf, and he doesn't end up being so much more powerful than Ox, which I appreciated. There are a couple of sex scenes in here, so if you're not wanting to read that, be aware. But I thought that the sex scenes were well done. These scenes definitely do not fade to black, and they are explicit, so be aware of that. The writing in this was really readable, and I consumed this book extremely quickly, but I will say that the time jumps can be a little jarring just because this book has to cover such a long time. Like in the first chapter, he's 12, and then he's 16, and then he's 22, and then he's 25 or 26. But it's not too difficult to follow because every time there's a time jump, he very quickly establishes the age of the characters, so you're not confused about what's going on. Another thing I liked was that this book is hella gay. Like, all of the characters. Ox is bisexual. I think Joe is gay. A lot of the characters have very fluid sexualities, so I thought that was cool. And my last pro that I'm going to talk about is that I just was really invested in this. I liked the writing, I liked the plot, I love the characters, I was into this. It gave me a bit of a book hangover after I finished it. I have already ordered the second book because I want to continue. I'm really excited for whenever that book comes in. As for cons, I could only really think of one. I think that this book could be a little bit repetitive, which I feel like I'm being a bit repetitive about saying that a lot of the books that I've been reading have been overly repetitive. For instance, Ox doesn't have a lot of self-confidence throughout the entire book, and so he constantly talks about how he's a no one, and I get that that's a part of his character growth. During the course of this book, he's starting to realize his own worth, but I just love Ox, so I wanted him to stop doing that. And kind of related to that, there's Nook, is that the characters tell each other that they don't get to do things a lot, which I didn't understand why all the characters are trying to control all the other characters. You don't get to tell me to do this, or you don't get to tell me to feel this way, or you don't get to tell me whatever. So I just picked up on that because it was a lot. So because of my enormous amount of pros and that one tiny con, I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I adored it. I loved it. Did not expect to. I mean, maybe I should have because I also gave The House in the Cerulean Sea 5 stars, but it was so good. Honestly, if you had asked me if I wanted to read an adult male-male paranormal romance featuring werewolves and an insane amount of angst, I would have said no, but I really loved this. And I highly recommend it if you're at all interested. Highly looking forward to continuing on, as I said before. Nook, you want to say hi, bud? So that's going to be my review on Wolfsong by TJ Klune. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below if you've read this book. What were your thoughts on it? If you haven't and you're interested in reading it, let me know that as well. If you've read anything else by TJ Klune and you want to let me know how it is so I can bump it up on my priority list, let me know that as well. I have pre-ordered The Extraordinaries, which is his YA debut that has superheroes, and I love superheroes, so I'm pumped for that. Anything else you want me to know, leave it down below and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye. Nookie, you want to say bye? Nookie, you want to say bye, buddy? Give me a kiss. Good boy.